The National Science Foundation, investing in research and researchers to create knowledge that will transform our future.
Well, NSF funding is absolutely critical to our staying in the forefront of high technology.
Without the support of NSF to that fundamental research, none of these would have been possible.
NSF funded my basic research, so we're on our way.
Without NSF support, I don't think I could actually do my research at all.
I always will owe a lot of my success to NSF.
NSF's really been what enabled us to go after and develop a high-risk technology like this.
Qualcomm was very small when it received its first SBIR grant with the National Science Foundation. We now employ something over 21,000 people.
The National Science Foundation provided all of the support for the research and the educational goals of the project.
NSF is in living rooms changing lives through funding.
What really causes economic growth is it's always innovation. So how do we get more of it? We invest in basic research. That's as simple as that.
National Science Foundation, federal agency focused on research in fundamental science and engineering. Here at SDSU, the funding runs to be about $1 million to $2 million a year. You can see the last 4 years on what we've had here. Overall, the funding rate for NSF is about 20 to 25% here. You can see overall $14.8 million was awarded in FY17 just for South Dakota. Some of this funding here in the last 4 years, you'll see there's EPSCoR funding, which is funding that is given to the certain states. I think there's 26 states who have lower amounts of funding for NSF. So that opens up some additional funding that is available for our researchers. Here's the NSF website. I'm going to look more closely at the research areas and funding portions on the website here. The NSF is broken into directorates, and those directorates are broken down even further into various divisions in which you will researchers can go in, the PIs can go in and see how their research areas fit. These in the darker color are the research, for the specific research, where these ones that are in the lighter color are for other things that you might find for like graduate research fellowships, conferences, equipment grants. Most of the proposals I see come through my office are those basic research proposals, but again, there's more than just the research. Like I said, equipment grants or some eager grants, which are kind of quicker, different types of applications where you could find funding. So when you get into the NSF website and you're looking for the funding, you'll start at that funding tab, and there are different ways that you can go in and search to find your funding. You can go in and look by your directorate and dig in further that way. Like down here, this is just the start of the list in the research areas that you could start in. You could dig into that way. Or you can just simply go in and browse. Say you know of a program that they have available and you want to go in and see if it fits for you. What are the deadlines? You can look through here by due dates. You can also get all this information on grants.gov, which gets beyond NSF and USDA and NIH. It gets into all those federal agencies. NSF also does this Dear Colleagues letter, so they'll release these Dear Colleague letters to announce any supplemental funding or any program areas that they're looking for some specific submissions. For example, like recently, they used a Dear Colleague letter to announce that there is additional funding to support graduate research assistance on NSF-funded projects so they can go and do university, industry internships. So they could, so they used a Dear Colleague letter to announce that. And like a couple years ago, during hurricane season, they released a Dear Colleague letter when they were looking for specific submissions around response to hurricanes. South Dakota EPSCoR, they have a nice little newsletter which also announces funding availability in beyond NSF. So if you're in that STEM field and you're looking for some additional funding, the EPSCoR site is a good one to follow. NSF, some of their programs have deadlines, some of them don't. They've just, here in the last 6 months, have gone into rolling deadlines. but it's not NSF-wide. There are just certain programs that do that. So you'll have to get familiar with the directorate and the program that you're looking to apply for. And again, this list I pulled up is just by accessing the due dates section. And I'd like to note here in this, you'll see like there's this C here, that's for cross-cutting, so it goes between the directorates for that research, whereas this with the N, it's an NSF-wide program that can fit into multiple directorates and research areas. Like the Graduate Research Fellowship Program is one where that's a program, but you can fit into multiple research areas. When you find a title for an opportunity that might fit for you, click through it. It'll pull up all this information, which gives you your program officer contacts, any deadlines. This, for example, is the GRFP, that Graduate Research Fellowship Program. Down here, you get a little more information on the program itself. The solicitation number right here, that's really important to know because that gets you into more specific detail on what's required for your research proposal. And this is the solicitation here. Again, we're repeating which directorates, your deadlines. It's important to note the award information is in that solicitation. So that'll give you that information on what the max is, the floor amount, if there's cost share. There typically isn't cost share with NSF, but like on the equipment grants, there is. And we'll go through eligibility, any of those specific preparation instructions you need for your proposal. So as you're working on writing your proposal, you want the solicitation in hand, and you also want the NSF proposal guide, which we'll introduce here in a little bit. So once you found an opportunity you think might fit for you by looking through the website, you will want to contact a program officer. And again, that information will be in that solicitation. You can find it throughout the website. I suggest that you write up a quick little 250, 500 word introduction for your proposal, for your research topic, and you send that by email to a program officer to set up a time. That typically seems to be the way it works. And you talk to any grant specialist, that's what we're going to tell you to do, no matter the agency. So once you get into writing your proposal, I suggest you get your team set up. So again, when you're writing your proposal, you want that solicitation in hand. You also want to have the resource guide, the NSF guide next to you. For the way I operate, I really prefer that once you find a funding opportunity, contact your grant specialist. We can help you walk through the process, your routing, your budget. I want to point out here, a basic NSF research proposal is 15 pages, but some of those proposal types will be different, as I noted earlier. Get your team together. Your team would be your grant specialist, in Office of Research, any of your graduate research assistants, anybody else you're bringing in on the grant, your subaward, your co-PIs. Have somebody else available who can read through your proposal with a technical mind. Me in my office, I offer that too, where I can do proofreading and editing too. And also help make sure we're getting everything to fit for the NSF guidelines. And this is your NSF proposal guide. It comes out at the beginning of each year. They make changes. The new one comes out in January. Well, it'll be out at the end of the year, and it becomes implemented official at the end of January, usually. And this, again, gives you the structure for your proposal and all the templates and explanations that you need. In an NSF proposal, they're focused on science. There are a couple things that make it more unique as a proposal. The intellectual merit and broader impacts. Those are two pieces you need to address specifically in your NSF proposal, in your project summary, in your project description. The intellectual merit is specific to, does your work advance science? Broader impacts. Does your work have implication beyond the science community? Will it impact society? And that often gets into how you do your outreach and education and your dissemination in your proposal or in your research once you're funded. We've got online submission. There's a couple different options, and this is all done through research.gov. So you have nsf.gov where you get all your information, research.gov, where you sign in and you can submit your application online. So there's a couple ways to sign in, and you can do the registration yourself, and this gets you into this FastLane platform, research.gov platform. The research.gov is relatively new. It was released this spring, and at this point they're only accepting basic research proposals. It's a pretty smooth submission platform, and eventually it'll replace FastLane, which I'm looking forward to. But at this point, a majority of your applications that are beyond just basic research will be going into FastLane. But either way, you sign in this way. I put this in because it's a question I get. I've registered somewhere else. I don't know my NSF ID. If you get to a point you don't know, you can look it up yourself. If you've set up an NSF ID that is with another institution, there's this help here too. You are not going to be left in the dark and alone, wondering how to log into NSF. This is in the research.gov. Once you're signed in, prepare and submit proposals. There's a little drop down, gives you the option to go into FastLane or the research.gov part. Because FastLane looks a little bit different. And sometimes I get a little confused when I try to log in and figure out where I'm going. So you'd log in, it'll bring up your dashboard of information, and select prepare proposal. Up in here, if I could fast forward, it'd be great. It's a really, I feel like FastLane is pretty clicky once you get in and you have to enter all the things in. And it just pretty much will walk you through. And of course, your grant specialist will be here to help you out. I want to point out here towards the end of this, there is a place where you can set up a PIN. So you need to set that up so you can give other people access into your proposal. Like for me, for example, I can go in, if you give me that PIN, I can go in and help review, make sure you have everything set up. So, and that's this right here where you'd set that up. If you're in the STEM field, there are other agencies in which you can look. And again, I've got this College of Engineering, Office of Engineering Research page where I'll have this up, and I have other documents. I just got the page set up, so we'll probably start curating more information and putting it in. That's what I got. Thanks.